Hi boys, I hope you are ready to learn. Today we are going to be finishing lesson 32. So if you could have your book out and open to page 79. Wait a minute, is it 79? Oh, I don't think, yeah. I think we're actually on 70. I think we left off on 78. Okay? So that's where we'll be working today in your workbook. But first I want to introduce you to something new. Look at my symbol on my display here. Does it look familiar? You might have seen it before. You might have heard this symbol as multiplication. So yes, we are going to begin multiplication. This can also be called a count by problem. Okay? So for the sake of this lesson, we are going to call it a count by problem. What kind of problem? A count by problem. So this is the count by sign. Okay? What are we going to call it? The count by sign. Okay. So the count by sign tells you to count by a number. Look. This tells us to count by 6. Okay? What does this tell us to do? Count by 9. And this tells us to count by 3. What are we going to do now? Count by 2. And now, count by 10. And now, we are going to count by 5. Okay. So the count by sign comes in the middle. And you're going to count by the first number. Okay? And the second number is going to tell us how many times we count. Okay? So look, this is read as count by 5 3 times. How many times are you going to count by 5? 3. This time it tells us to count by 5 how many times? 2 times. Now what are we going to do? Count by 5 8 times. Next, what do we do? Count by 5 1 time. Next, what do? We count by 5 7 times. What do we do here? We count by 3 7 times. And here, we count by 5 7 times. And here, we count by 3 2 times. What does this problem tell you to do? Count by 5 3 times. What does this problem tell you to do? Count by 2 10 times. What does this problem tell you to do? Count by 1 8 times. Okay. I want you guys to look in your workbook, and I want you to be looking at part 4 in your workbook. And we are going to be talking about some action sentences with more and less. Okay? So for this activity, you're going to be writing E and S on the line. Okay? What does E stand for? The end number. What does S stand for? The start number. Okay? If someone ends with more, then E is the big number. And if someone ends with less, then E is the small number. Okay? So, I want you to touch the arrow for A, and I want you to listen to the story. It says, Ed made some chairs. Did Ed end up with more or less? He ended with more. So then E is the big number and S is the small number. Put E and S in the family. And here's what you should have for A. Touch B. Listen to the story. Jan sold some bikes. Did she end up with more or less than she started with? Less. So is E the big number or the small number? The small number. Go ahead and put the letters in the family and then check it. Okay, here's what you should have. All right, touch C. Listen to the story. Mike lost some library books. Did he end up with more or less? Less. So is E the big number or the small number? The small number. Put E and S in the family. And this is what you should have. And touch D. Listen. Sally found $10. Did she end up with more or less than she started with? More. So is E the big number or the small number? Put your letters in the family. Check your work. Did you guys get this right? Good job. Go ahead and find part 5 in your workbook. And you can see that we're going to do some measurement here with the rulers. You're going to make marks on the line to show inches. Then you'll write the number of inches in the box. Oh. Guess what, boys? You are going to need a ruler in order to complete part 5. So if you have a ruler at home, you can get your ruler out and use your ruler. Trying to think of how I can present this. If you don't have a ruler at home, that's okay. I will be showing you on the display here, but it would be nice if I could somehow get a ruler for you. We'll have to brainstorm that. Okay, so I just want to show you how you would line the ruler up against the line. So the arrow is the start of my ruler, or I mean the start of my line, and then the line extends to here. Your arrow should be in line with the first line here, which is the 0. Okay, so that's how you line it up. So if you look at A in your book, you don't have, if you have a ruler, you can line it up so that the first line is even with the arrow in your book. But you can also look up here. So you can measure it and you can see how many inches it is, right? So this would be 1 inch, and what would this be? 2 inches. And so in your box, you're going to write 2 inches. Good. And B, if you have your ruler, you can line it up. If not, you can look up here. So remember, the first line gets lined up against the arrow here, so that would be the 0, and it extends out. And can you tell me how many inches long this line is? 6 inches. Good job. And we do not have a C up here to display. So if you don't have a ruler, if you have a ruler, you can go ahead and measure C. And if you don't have a ruler, then you just won't worry about that one right now, okay? But if you do have a ruler, you can measure it. And how long is it? The line would have been 4 inches long. Okay, I want you guys to find part 6 in your book. And these are families that you saw earlier with the small number of 2. So you're going to say the fact that say the fact that starts with 6, okay? And then you're going to say the fact that goes back on the arrow, okay? So let me see if I can show you. I'll have your workbook open here. Okay, so first I'll give you a moment to figure out what the big number is. So if the small numbers are 6 and 3, you add those together, and the big number is 9. Say the addition fact. 6 plus 3 equals 9. And the subtraction fact, it goes back on the arrow. 9 minus 3 equals 6. Touch B. I'll give you a moment to solve for the big number. Okay, and the big number is 10. Say the fact. 7 plus 3 equals 10, and the fact that goes back. 10 minus 3 equals 7. Touch C. Say the fact that goes, I'll give you a moment to work for the big number. Say the number that goes forward on the arrow. 8 plus 3 equals 11. And then you'd write the number that goes back on the arrow. What would that be? 11 minus 3 equals 8. Good job. So for your independent work, you are going to work parts 7 through 13. Remember when you do the 2-digit addition that some of the answers for the ones column will have 2 digits, and you'll make sure that you put the tens digit in the tens column and the ones digit in the ones column. Okay? So hopefully you'll be able to do okay with your independent work. You can always email me on Schoology if you have any questions. And if possible, try to email me a picture of your completed independent work so that I can offer you some feedback. Okay. Hope you did good today. See you next time. Bye.